As rumors of flashing lights began to circulate outside the Love and Hip Hop Atlanta studio, the concealed cameras never lied. The fans were completely taken aback. According to rumors, producers secretly called the police to quell a raging controversy that threatened to ruin the entire show, not to arrest Mendeecees. Now, body cam footage shared by Tasha K shows every gasp. Rushed, whisper, and terrified trembling in the room where Yandy and Mena gathered for an emergency. As the three of them rushed to come up with a plan to control the damage, emotions were running high. Accusations spread more quickly than rumors. Loyalty teetered on the brink of betrayal, and tears threatened to spill. Alliances broke apart behind closed doors and reformed in real life. Time as followers listened to the brief audio snippets that Tasha K posted online with a single provocative tweet, revealing each private conversation. The family was torn between relief that the cameras were able to continue filming and shock at how close they came to having a televised breakdown. However, nothing will ever look the same with this unadulterated raw evidence now in the wild. The fallout is just getting started, so stay tuned. There was a lot of shade in the tiny conference room. The glow of phones and the one lamp on the table provided the sole illumination, acting as impromptu torches. As she collapsed into a folding chair, Mena replayed Tasha K's body cam leak in her head. Her eyes wide and red-rimmed, her voice scarcely audible above a whisper. She traced the rim of her coffee cup and whispered, "They actually sent someone here." Sneakers squeaking on the scratched linoleum floor. Yandy strode back and forth. Her hair fell in waves across her face as she whispered, "We're in so much trouble." Mendeecees fought the tremor in his hands by leaning against the distant wall with his jaw clenched and his arms crossed. The world beyond these four walls was already whirling with conjecture as they were reminded by distant voices and muted footfalls outside. In each glance, loyalty was tempered with self-preservation. Fear had crept into their bones, and they all realized that their careers, friendships, and reputations could all be irreparably damaged if they didn't devise a strategy quickly. When Erica explained the stakes, her voice broke. Before we get ahead of the story, those audio clips were posted to YouTube. Everyone will think that I abandoned him. The weight of previous betrayals and the recollection of other scandals that had destroyed careers and split families was evident in her statements. Yandy paused her pacing, folded her arms, and gave a quiet nod. "We need a story," she stated. Sweat pounded at Mendeecees' hairline as he wiped his forehead. "We can frame it, but we can't lie," he said. There was no mistaking the stress in his voice. He was aware that they were on the verge of catastrophe, but he couldn't afford to deny it outright. As they mapped out every aspect that producers might delete, the three of them leaned in and spoke in urgent whispers. How fans would respond to what Tasha K would highlight. Ambition pushed panic aside, reminding them that the show must go on no matter what, even in that small space. Yandy took out her phone and browsed through social media post screenshots. She said, "Look at this," as she swiped to a tweet that was already widely shared. On his own set, Mendeecees contacted the police, LHHATL. It was a slap of words. Disbelief. Turning to hurt, Erica reached for the phone and skimmed through irate comments. Her words, "They think I'm in on it." Mendeecees clenched his hands and closed his eyes. Yandy rubbed her temples, her head pounding from the noise of their collective panic. "I never wanted to drag you into this," he whispered, his voice trembling. With regret and defiance, the two emotions fighting in the shallow rise and fall of his chest. Outside the door, the faint hiss of the air conditioner sounded like a deadline ticking away. They had a strategy session that sounded like a war council. When the leak occurred, Erica drew up a timeline of events on a crumpled notepad. When the police arrived, she played back snippets of the audio in her mind, including the officer's clipped commands, DC's shocked gasp, and Yandy's half-caught plea. "We have to get ahead of the rumor that he was arrested," she said, emphasizing that the police were called as a precaution to restore order, not to charge him. Mendeecees ran a hand through his hair. So we spin it as a protective measure, he said. Exactly, Yandy said in a firm voice. We frame it like you are the victim of chaos, not the cause. Their plan hinged on controlling perception, casting themselves as responsible adults under attack by sensational leagues rather than as headline-grabbing fugitives. As they fleshed out talking points, the door cracked open and a producer slipped in, eyes flicking nervously between them. She carried a clipboard and a resolve that alternated between urgency and exhaustion. I need your quotes by 5, she said, voice low. Network wants a preemptive statement to drop tonight. The producer nodded, looking at the phones lighted. Up across the table, each screen a conduit to public indignation, and keep it tight. No mention of charges, just concern for safety. Erica straightened, swallowing hard. We'll have something, she vowed, though her throat felt dry. They had an assignment, a version of events to sell, but the gap between what happened and what they would say yawned wider than any studio stage. We'll offer a sit-down interview, Mendeecees said, leaning forward and lowering his voice until it was almost conspiratorial. Me, Erica, you live on camera, he said. She left as quietly as she'd arrived, the click of the door echoing in their ears. We discuss what transpired. Express regret for the panic and give the officers credit for their professional handling of the situation. We get ahead of it. Control the narrative, he said, meeting Erica's gaze. Her eyes glowed with relief and incredulity. You really think people will buy that? She responded. I think it's our best shot after Yandy tapped her foot. 'Cause Tasha K's next leak will be worse, she added. For a brief time, the statements felt like a verdict. She has full footage. If we don't do this, we're screwed. Their phones buzzed once again, with, eventually, Erica rubbed her palms together and clicked her tongue. All right, she murmured. Let's draft that statement. The pressure increased like steam in a boiler. Mendeecees unfolded his arms and said, We'll do it together, promising unity but hinting at the tenuous truce they were forging. Outside the war room, the studio corridors hummed with the normal production noise of lights being reset, cameras rolling and extras milling about. Yandy looked at the crumpled notes on the table, the glow of screens illuminating the determined set of her jaw. The cameras were already rolling when Erica Mendeecees and Yandy entered the makeshift interview set, a small cluster of chairs surrounded by cables and lighting rigs. The family was left divided between fear and resolve, but they had a plan. But inside, time had stopped. Erica took a deep breath and started talking, her voice calm and even. We want to address the incident that happened last night. As her words filled the small space, the three of them prepared for the next level of the drama machine. We want to address the situation that unfolded last night, specifically the presence of law enforcement on set. Mendeecees nodded, his expression solemn. That was a precautionary measure, he said. Low. That was a precautionary measure. Yandy sat on the edge of her chair, posture rigid, eyes darting to every corner of the room as though expecting Tasha K herself to burst through the door at any moment. The director called action, and a hush fell when Erica settled into her seat, smoothing her dress as if straightening a... Tasha K recently tweeted, "Enjoy the official spin." Others scoffed with GIFs of handcuffs, while others offered encouraging hearts. In 30 seconds, real footage is released. Yandy's face was drained of color. Erica grabbed the phone. A tweet glowed like a time bomb. Enjoy the official spin. Real footage drops in 30. The reality of their half-truth hit them harder than anybody can. Leak had said she's not bluffing, Mendeecees said. We merely delayed the inevitable. The minutes to go live ticked by an agonizing slowness. The door opened and LHHATL slipped in. Concern etched on her face. Oh. She hugged each of them quickly. I noticed the statement, she said quietly. That was bold. Her gaze wavered. Are you certain we covered everything, Erica? She replied, we said what we could, and Rashida's eyes softened. Erica swallowed. No, you're safe with us. Earlier, footage of fans assembling outside the studio flooded the network's social feed, with placards reading, "We want truth" tweets calling for transparency, and the hashtag, "Where are the clips?" She left them with a slight nod, entering the fluorescent corridor as if crossing a line between solidarity and distance. Producers rushed to arrange a backup livestream with cast members defending the story. Fedra and Papoose joined the panel, adding their familiar gravitas. The network's plan was obvious. They flooded the room with friendly faces and comforting explanations, overwhelming Tasha K's impending drop. Outside the studio, Tasha K prepared her next attack, queuing up in a room illuminated by several monitors, this time with the officer's cool orders. The sound of papers rustling and handcuffs clicking shut. Those handcuffs never touched flesh was superimposed by her with timestamps and on-screen text. Real events, real reactions. She added a voiceover.com and assured, "You heard them. Tell their story. Now hear the unadulterated truth." Back in the studio, the panel wrapped and the main cast poured into the green room. There was a buzz of tension as everyone checked their phones. Erica looked at Tasha K's profile, noting the countdown clock approaching 0. "Any minute now," she whispered. Gandhi closed her eyes, gathering strength. The network's PR lead reappeared, and Mendeecees stood by the window, staring out as if looking for a way out. "We can handle it," she muttered, partially to herself. "We need talking points for the panel, and we have word that they will drop specifically at 8 o'clock, she said. "What do we learn from this?" Mendeecees Yandy exchanged looks with Erica. The seriousness of the question struck each of them. How to face the harsh reality without admitting fault. Their voices were quiet as they huddled, crafting words that promised transparency while preserving their frame. Misunderstanding, caution, no charges, no arrests. A dot. A quiet ripple swept through the room when the clock struck 8. There was a buzzing notification on phones. Live Tasha K. She pressed play right away. Every screen was filled with the sound from the body cam, and the playback icons began to rotate. The measured voice of the officer. "This protocol is standard." Then Mendeecees' breath caught in shock. Little metallic clink. Evidence that the police presence was genuine, and that something had happened that went beyond spin control was the unmistakable rustle as someone grabbed for a phone. The audience leaned forward, a mixture of surprise and curiosity. Tasha K was sitting grinning with her microphone in her hand when the studio monitor cut to her camera window. She remarked, "So much for precaution." Her comments fell like grenades. If there wasn't a scene worth policing, why else would they call us? Silence engulfed them in the green room. Erica shut her eyes, preparing for the consequences. The damage persisted even after the network's broadcast cut to a commercial break. The panel reassembled, eyes flashing, features pallid. One of the junior producers, the tablet rose. "The social media stream is exploding. The cover is blown by the body cam. They had lied. We knew it. We require a quick on-camera reaction." They were signaled back to the set by the director. The air was thick with secondhand nerves as Erica, Yandy, and Mendeecees stepped out under bright lights once more. Erica inhaled deeply. "We hear you," she said firmly. "We never intended to deceive. There was much more to the problem than we could explain in a short statement." Mendeecees came next. "To keep the cast and crew safe from a rumor-fueled escalation, we summoned the cops." Yandy closed her eyes, then purposefully opened them. "We can appreciate how frustrated you are. Going ahead, we're dedicated to complete transparency." On the screen behind them, however, were stills from Tasha K's body cam. Frozen pictures of hands clutched, faces tight, and uniforms. Their half-explanations were dwarfed by the data. When a lie was discovered, fans typed angry messages. "Be honest, we are worthy of more." The pressure of group expectations caused the trio's willpower to falter. Erica's voice was empty as she slumped against a wall when the second portion ended. Whispering, "We're drowning," she said. Mendeecees knelt next to her. His words, "We knew this would get messy." Yandy slid to the floor and leaned back against the wall across from her. "But I didn't think it would go this far." She questioned, "What's our next move?" Her query reverberated across the emptying studio, echoing beyond the walls and into every unsaid worry. Tasha K created her last video for the evening, which was an assemblage of all the clips they had made available, sewn together using commentary that drips. "This is more than a rumor," she assured them. The world watched, rapt and hungry, as her videos started to upload. The war room had turned into a battlefield, and now they were scrambling for cover under a torrent of truth that no statement could fully contain. The aftermath hit like a tidal wave. Phones lit up across the set as alerts chimed non-stop notifications from Tasha K's latest drop. Erica sat on the edge of a sofa cushion, hands covering her face as she scrolled. She trembled as she whispered, "Calling me a liar. I just tried to help." Yandy pressed her palm against the cool metal of a folding chair, taking in a shaky breath. "We spin too much," as if hoping for a miracle to ease the tension. A small army of assistants and publicists tried to mute the chaos inside the green room by drafting tweets, pairing fly statements, and reaching out to influencers. However, each whisper of support was drowned by the roar of skepticism. "They see through it," she said, tone tight with frustration. Mendeecees stood by the window, her gaze fixed on the darkening sky outside. "K engagement is through the roof, but sentiment is plummeting," she reported. "This is getting worse by the minute," she said, her lips pressed into a thin line as she watched the comment count surge. "This is getting worse by the minute," she said. Rasadita's return was announced by a knock at the door. She carried a tablet, its screen displaying analytics graphs that spiked like mountain ranges. "Look at this," she said, her voice low. Erica and Yandy flanked Mendeecees as Rashida swiped through the metrics. "We gave them a statement. We did the sit-down. What more do they want?" Mendeecees rubbed his temples. Yandy and Erica looked at each other. "Transparency," Erica said softly. "They want truth, not spin." Outside, the set crew whispered in low tones, glancing at their phones and whispering, "Did you hear the body cam?" The PR lead for the network said, "And they lead, right? It's floating through the halls." "We need a new tactic," she replied, her eyes wide and frantic. "Key, the panel tonight has to be unscripted. We must have a serious conversation." The PR head replied, "I'll clear it with producers. You'll have 10 minutes to prepare." Mendeecees glanced at Yandy and Erica, his eyes darting with anxiety. Erica told him, "We can do that, but it has to be genuine." They were seated around a small circular table in a storage room. Yandy kicked her legs, sending a chair tumbling back as the exposed bulbs flickered, creating tall shadows on the concrete. Walls of alcove. "What do we say?" "We begin with an apology," she said, placing her hand on Yandy's arm. "After that, we take responsibility for the fear and the panic. We explain the reason for our police call. How did we feel at the time?" Mendeecees sighed and said, "I do regret how it played out. However, I continue to think that it was the proper decision to keep Erica and the team safe." Squeezing his hand, Erica murmured, "All right, let's get started." "We're here because we realize you deserve honesty," Erica said, clearing her throat and glancing at the camera as they were led to another makeshift stage. A simple platform with 3 stools and overhead lights. Erica reached for her own vulnerability and wiped at her tears. She snapped, "I felt abandoned by the man I trusted," as she spoke. Yandy's eyes gleamed as she said, "Fear made me question everything. I felt torn between loyalty and truth." She admitted inside. Mendeecees put a hand over his heart and said, "I should have spoken up, but I remained silent. I betrayed your confidence," he told Yandy bluntly. "I'll work to recoup it every day." The candor of their admissions broke through. The clamor of scandal at that precise time connecting with viewers on a deeper level. The emoticons swamped the weeping faces of the chatters. Fire is a metaphor for the strength of exposed truth. Tasha K, however, wasn't done yet. A fresh push notification appeared on Erica's phone as the three of them finished their spontaneous apology. Yandy grabbed the phone as she read, its slowly eyes widening. Tasha K dropped part 2 of the body cam. She added, "This time you can hear the producers talking." She questioned, "What are they saying?" Erica scrolled. "They can be heard telling the officers not to record it." She read, "Just manage the optics to ensure no charges." Mendeecees' expression dimmed. "So," he whispered, "this was as much producer spin as ours." It was a painful realization. They had believed they were stepping in for one another. However, the production's protective coating was now also visible. Every glimmer of shock on their features was captured by the camera team. Erica took a swallow. She turned back to the lens and said, "You hear that?" "It was spin," our producers acknowledged. Yandy answered. With a harsh tone, she stated, "We were set up. We weren't alone in this. It's your turn to weigh in. Do you think their emergency round explanations were credible? Do you think the body cam leak ultimately cleared the air or just added more chaos?" Which moments Gaz's tears of relief, Yandy's fierce loyalty, or Menda's vow to rebuild trust resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts and let your voice shape the next chapter of this saga. If you're as invested in the real drama as we are, hit the like button to demonstrate your support for honesty over hype. If you want to see more uncut interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, and live fan Q&As with the cast, please subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss a candid behind-the-scenes moment or breaking revelation. Your participation fuels this journey from scandal to solidarity. And together, we'll keep peeling back the layers until the truth stands alone. Thanks to your support, we're dedicated to presenting you the story as it truly unfolds without these filters. Hold on tight, because even though the cameras may cease filming on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, the dialogue will continue. It revolves around you.